Hey, Ange.
Hey Les, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy.
Me too.
So, before I get into it, I'm going to say, welcome to another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn
In the house.
in the house.
And guess why I'm happy, Ange?
I don't know. There's someone else here. It may have something to do with him joining us today. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
It really is because one, we're going to now have our second male guest on our
Whoa.
podcast.
I wasn't the first.
No,
No, you
sorry.
were working and busy.
You're the first male lawyer. How's that?
Oh, yeah. And you're the first high school crush that I have on our
Oh
show.
my gosh. Here it comes. Let it all out, Les. Let it all the way
You know,
out.
listen, I could look at Carl across the lunchroom and just, whatever. I was young. We were teenagers.
Wow.
That's okay.
Well,
He's
I
still,
learn
he's
something
still a
new
looker.
every day.
He's
Every
still a
day,
looker.
every day. Yeah, he's still a looker, I'll tell you. I want to introduce to you our special guest this episode. I've asked our friend and fellow Brooklyn Tech Knight to join us. We have Karl Chen, Esquire, and we're going to get into just some questions, talk about old times and what he's up to these days and how it could be helpful to all of us at this time of our lives. So, Karl, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely do. Well, that was a wonderful introduction. And Leslie, you bring on something new for me, anytime I talk to you. So thank you.
You too, huh?
Well,
Listen.
So look, ladies, thank you so much. Yes, I'm Karl Chen. I'm from, okay. I say I'm from Brooklyn because that's where I lived from the age of 5 till, through college when I left college and all. But actually, I was born in Harlem. I was born in St.
I
Luke's
didn't know
Hospital.
that. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I actually spent my first 5-6 years in the Bronx. So,
It's okay.
but I claim
We
Brooklyn.
forgive you.
I know. It happens. It's not. It wasn't my
Wasn't your
direction, my
doing.
fault. I just had to come along wherever I was taken.
That's
Exactly.
okay.
So, my family. I'm a first American born of immigrant parents, Panama and Jamaica,
Mm.
Hmm.
and as you know, attended that prestigious high school, Brooklyn Tech,
Whoop,
class of
whoop.
1980. I think it was the best class
You
at
better
Brooklyn
I
Tech.
believe
think
it
so. And
was.
still, and
You
Yeah.
better
still.
believe it. Class
I
of
think
80. Yes.
absolutely. And after that, I ended up going to college, majoring in finance, eventually at Ohio University, although I did a stint at Boston U for a year
Mm-hmm.
with some of my other fellow Brooklyn Tech colleagues,
Yeah.
classmates, and ended up here. I'm in Maryland now.
Mm-hmm.
So ended up in Maryland back in 1987 after graduating and everything else, and started my career as a financial planner. And from 87 through 94, did financial planning, worked at one of local insurance, national insurance company called Monumental Life. When I was going to law school, I went to law school at night. So I was
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, it was interesting because I was lucky. I was only 3 blocks away from the law school for my job, so it made it nice during lunch. If I needed to go into the law school, get some work done or something or another, I was able to do that.
Perfect.
But did that. Was a night student. Came out in 3.5 years, and ended
Stop
up
right there for a second.
Yes.
So you studied finance in school.
Yeah.
And then went into the financial sector after graduating.
Not
What
really.
made you think about law?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
A pivot.
So-
Wait, there's
a pivot.
more.
A pivot is coming.
Well, obviously, as you know, our school was primarily a science, technology, a STEM type school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I started out as an engineering major at Boston University, but it was like manufacturing engineering. I didn't want to do that. I was a civil guy.
Right.
But Boston U gave the most money. Not that it mattered because I didn't stay.
Right.
So when
I thought you were going to say not that it mattered because we were wealthy. We didn't care about
far from it. So end up going to Ohio University. I said, okay, I'm going to major in finance because, as you know, being in New York, we traveled to school. Well, I did by train.
Yeah.
Right. So you're on the train and you're with the mix of people in the city and the folks wearing suits and ties. So I really liked that. I was like, man, I want to wear a suit and tie, right? And then right after graduation, I actually worked downtown at Chase Manhattan Bank in the summer, down in the trust vault department. So I did that for a couple of years every summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to be.
So the seed has been planted.
Yeah, and I wanted to be like, dressed up in a suit and tie, right?
You could have just done that, right? You didn't have to.
I know.
Okay.
But I figured I had to have a place to go there. I thought, so you just don't
dress up and walk around to McDonald's.
Right. So, so I end up getting this job. And anyway, make a long story short, to transition as to how I got into financial services, because Les intimated that, well, okay, you graduated and then you ended up in financial services. No, my first job was an assistant buyer at Lord & Taylor.
Oh, wow. You got the outfit then, huh? You got the lock on the suit. Listen, by any means necessary.
20% discount.
I see you. Yes.
Right there on 39th and Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Men's rugby knit shirts.
Oh.
That was my area.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Black man who's selling rugby shirts.
Yeah, I mean, I was there, I'm an assistant buyer and the Lord & Taylor training for, it was cool. But that's not what I wanted to do. Right. So I had a couple other jobs in the middle. I sold cigarettes for Philip Morris.
Oh, wow.
We'll go to the bodegas and I'm placing the products all over the place and battling with the folks from Winston and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But but I knew I wanted to be in financial services. So I took an insurance job all the way in Baltimore, working for Equitable Life Insurance Society of the United States, based in New York.
Yeah.
Right. But I was in Baltimore. So Equitable, actually, their headquarters at the time, and still may be, is right across from Radio City, right? The Equitable building. So anyway, I go there and I start selling insurance, started doing financial planning, got my license. And while I was doing that, that's when I went to law school at night.
Wow. And from financial services to law, what made that pivot happen?
Well, it would seem like it's a natural transition to do like estate planning, because I'm helping people with retirement planning.
I see.
What happens when they die by having life insurance and stuff like that.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is like, I started law school in 91. So I went 91 to 94, right?
Okay.
I graduated in December of 94. And so that was what I was planning on doing, but that's not what happened.
Okay.
It sounds like a cliffhanger.
I know. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun. Okay.
Yeah. So I have the securities background. I have all this stuff. So the SEC hired me, the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Okay.
So I became a securities lawyer, working at the SEC and reviewing like IPOs, mergers and acquisitions, a lot of public company filings and proxy statements and all this other stuff. And I did that for about 3 years.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was very interesting because quite frankly, I'm more of a technical math kind of person, which was fine. But law is a lot of reading.
Yeah.
I hated reading. I hated reading and writing.
And you had to
Ended up-
understand what you read. You couldn't just
Yeah.
say, okay,
Read the
finish
cliff
that.
notes.
Right.
You couldn't read the cliff notes.
Right. Remember those?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yes.
Got me through tech.
Right. Because most of us, English, all that
exactly,
stuff.
because we're science heads.
Right, with
Yeah.
science. Oh, yeah. Chemistry. Yeah. Physics. Okay. Yeah. Math.
Listen, I was into English as well.
Oh,
I was into English as
here
well.
we go.
I was on the staff of our
Yearbook.
literary magazine at
We had one?
at Tech. Yes, I was. Horizons,
Oh, yeah.
Horizons.
Horizons. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I had both sides of the brain fired up. Okay, but anyway,
Okay.
continue.
All right.
Well, that's the funny thing, though, Andrew, is that I wanted to challenge myself because I went to law school and I knew that was like a weakness, but I wanted to really build it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there, I became editor-in-chief of our law journal.
See
Really?
that? Good for you.
So what it shows is that if you really want to do something, you can do it.
That's right.
And not let your own
Fear.
fear, right?
Yeah.
And just it's just a little bit more difficult. And I learned a lot about
wow, fist bump.
writing.
Yes,
boom.
fist bump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I ended up when I left the SEC going to a place called Nextel. Now during this time I was married and I had 2 kids at this point.
Oh, you were busy. You were burning candle at both ends.
Oh, I got more for you.
Oh,
I got more for you.
Oh boy. Okay.
So I'm at Nextel and I'm corporate lawyer, securities lawyer, and everything. Grinding. And during that time I'm grinding, you're not going to believe what I did. So I moved to Virginia at this point because Nextel is based in Virginia. I left Baltimore. I was there for 10 years. And I get there and we moved into the subdivision and there's no coffee spot, nothing. I was introduced to like Starbucks back in '94 when I worked at the SEC. And I'm like, man, there's no place to get coffee other than an gas station. So, working at high tech and all, you get stock options, you get different things. So I opened up a coffee bar.
You didn't.
Called I Like It Black.
No, you did not. What?
Yes. Come to find out, I recently found out that there's a coffee bar in Harlem called I Like It Black. They just opened up a couple years ago. I'm like, I bet you they stole my name. I didn't trademark it.
You could have sold that domain name.
Yeah, but yeah, it was called I Like It Black, the coffee bar. And they wrote an article.
I love this. Yes.
Yeah, they wrote an article on me back in 1999, 2000, the Washington Post did.
Wow.
And it was about lawyer has a different kind of grind.
Grinding. You see, I know it.
Exactly. I was grinding.
Love it.
Exactly. And so I had that for about 4 years. And we do open mic nights. It was catering to the community. And then eventually I sold it back in 2002, 98 to 2002. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we love that,
So now you have the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you have the law spirit and then the financial spirit.
Yeah. And you could tell that my brain is all over the place. Like,
it's I don't good. I see it as you being the change you want to see. You saw a need and, you just said, hey, who's going to do it but me?
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what else also, Andrew, to that point, I had a lot of different disappointments, right? And we all do, I think.
We do.
I think for the most part, sometimes there's things in life that disappoint.
Yeah.
And so there was this situation that happened back in 1982, 83. So I went to, I was hanging out, for the summer, and I went to a club out in the city. I don't know if it was Bentley's or something. I forget where it was. But anyway, yeah, you remember, right?
Yeah, we had our prom there.
Prom date. I never went to our prom, but I know. And I met a young lady and I wanted to go out on a date with her. And she lived right across the street from the Empire State Building. There was a thing there right across from probably Herald Square, somewhere in there. So I go visit her, and I get ghosted, right? So I go to Barnes and Noble, right? And I find this book called The Magic of Thinking Big.
Oh boy.
And I read that book because it was thin. I was like, oh, it's a thin book. I could read that.
I could read that. I don't like to read, but I can read
as I don't have to write about it. I can read this.
And to be honest with you, it changed my life. It really did.
Wow.
It changed
my life God.
How I perceive things. Yeah.
This is how I look at God moments and what is ordained and supposed to happen. You were supposed to be at Herald Square, not for that ghosted date, but to pick up that thin book. If it was not a thin book, you may not have picked it up.
That's right.
If she had agreed to the date,
I would never have,
you would not have picked up the book.
Exactly.
Oh,
so give us some nuggets from it.
Yeah, and I took the book and I went over to 59th Street Bridge, and I got on the tram and I went to Roosevelt Island, and I sat there and I read through this book, right?
Wow.
And then I just realized that in life, you just got to think big. You cannot allow setbacks, so to speak, to hold you and dwell in it and things of that sort.
Right, right.
So so then I just started dreaming bigger, right? And dreaming.
Wow.
And saying like, look, if you could think about it, if you really put the energy behind something, you can accomplish it. You could achieve it. Blah, blah.
Wow.
So that's how.
And that's all about our podcast, actually. We talk about some of the things that we've done, either in the face of adversity or when people say, oh, it can't be done. Or if we think like, how am I going to get this done? When I went to, as I've mentioned in the podcast, and people who know me know, when I went to medical school, I was 35 or 36 years old. I was a single parent of a 10-year-old at the time. And you just make it happen because this is what you're going to do. And thank God, when you make these kind of decisions and pivots in life, the road just opens up and the things just line up for you.
Yeah.
So true.
You know, I have a plaque on my wall that says, and God says yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's pretty, I think for people who haven't experienced that or have doubts about the validity of that, I just want to kind of pause here and say, sometimes our heads are so full of stuff that mask what is for you. Our heads are so full of doubt, so full of judgment of others, of oneself, fear, that you can't see it. But I believe that you can sense it, and it's a matter of being obedient to it versus denying it. It's kind of just lean into that. Just say yes. Just say yes to it. And you're going to see more and more that's what happens to you. Carl, I think that's an amazing story. So you think that book impacted your decision?
It's impacted all of my decisions for the most part.
Wow.
Oh, I cannot wait to put that up on our podcast notes, that book.
Wow.
And it's funny, I kind of took excerpts of it. I remember I was speaking at a little graduation for junior high. I was the speaker or something. And I took excerpts out of that because I knew it helped me. And even if it was a nugget of information for somebody at that time, it's been a minute since I've revisited it, but
it's in there.
It's keeping, and of course, faith.
It's a great story.
God, and having faith of because faith with worries is not faith, right? You just gotta keep God in front of you, or
I was just talking to I had a coffee date with Cookie because I was in Brooklyn last week, and she was telling me about, how she is in prayer about her next steps, and we were talking about how worry, it's either pray and don't worry or worry and don't pray.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Pray and don't worry, worry, don't pray. It's one or the other. You
Yep.
can't consider yourself to be faith led if you're worrying all the
Mhm.
time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Not
You know?
easier said than done, but
Yeah.
you got to push through. You got to push through
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Hmm.
And so after that, I left Nextel. I went to a couple other companies, Fannie Mae and another company called Watson Wyatt. They went through a merger in 2010, and I decided to take a package and open up my own practice in 2011.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
Incredible.
Thank
And we
you.
want to hear about that because you're doing all the things. And
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to be convicted. Leslie, not so much, because
Thank you.
Leslie has it all on lock. Me, not so much. So I'm going to be listening, and a lot of my questions are going to be, I'm going to pretend that I'm asking for our audience, but I'm actually asking for myself. But you'll never know the difference.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
So if you're like Ange, who wants to get all the scoop about estate planning for a friend, stay tuned for part 2 of our episode with your estate planning attorney, Karl Chen. See you next week. And this has been another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.